Good morning, everyone. Who do we have here? Norma and Hlubi, hello. Good morning. Morning, everyone. Welcome to the last rendition of Township Talks for 2023. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming here and joining us throughout from the beginning of Township Talks around March 2023. We've had a very colorful presenters within this Township Talks and very informative sessions. From the first session where we had a Q&A between us and you guys. The second session where we had Unovizi Tamalinga, who really went into our construction, the things that we need to look out for in construction, and what makes a good property developer within the township space. Our third rendition, we had Lusanda, the CEO of TAF 21, and Umastandi, who spoke to us about why is it that we want to invest in townships, the importance of development within the township areas, and what to look out for when investing in that area. Our fourth rendition was on Neo Petwana, who is our legal and conveyance officer, who spoke about the legalities and what to look out for when you are investing in property investment. She spoke about deceased estate. How do you wind up these deceased estates in the township area? What we need to look out for, what suretyship means, and really those difficult legal terms that we find it so difficult to speak to. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to close it off with us and just answer any of the questions that you guys may have about Umastandi and about township property development as a whole. I'm hoping that by the end of today, you guys will be wanting to take your bonuses and put them as equity contribution for next year's property development. And we walk into 2024 with a more informed and more planned goals for the year. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming here, and I'm looking forward to engaging with you today. Hi, Ndash. Ngosinathi Xulu. How are you, Ndash? Where are you from? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'll allow you to give tell us where you're from, where you're watching from, and just type along any questions that you have. But I'm going to just give you another brief overview of what Umastandi is. I'm sure everyone who's here knows what Umastandi is right now. I'm going to give you just a brief overview of what we do and how we finance and property development. We help property entrepreneurs finance and property in townships, in property development in townships. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Umastandi is a property financing company. We focus on commercial property financing. That means that we will give you money in order to open a property business. We usually do residential, we do mixed use. We help you buy and develop. If you already have a rental properties within the township areas, we help you. We give you money or release equity for properties that you've developed within the township areas. Township Talks is more to speak to you and give you information about the kind of things that we do, how we can help you, the things that you need to look out for. If you're starting within this journey, we want to help you be able to strategize and have the correct information to come to Umastandi with an almost ready package. But nonetheless, we will take you through all the information. We understand that most of our entrepreneurs are new to this, and we really try to help you along the way and to inform you, to train you, to give you the kind of guidance that you need in order to make sure that you are the most successful developer that you can be. Hello, Nomahlu. You are Renfontaine. You here, Mos? How are you guys? I know that everyone who's here today is people that you take the big days with December. If in December you're like, you know what, let me find out what I can do better with my life. You're not out here just partying. You're making sure you're strategic about what you want to do. So I know these are definitely the property developers who we will be who we will be developing with next year, right? Right, Nomatlubi and Lindo Kuhle. I'm waiting for us next year to come back in this type of setting and say that these are the people who we've approved and these are the conversation we started with. You will wait with me. Ow. Okay, I see that we have some questions from. Oh, hi, Lindo from Durban. I hope you joined Uzindla Kumalo in last week's event. Do I need to be employed to qualify? Okay, so Umastandi focuses on the rental or the potential rentals that you can receive from the property development more than your actual income. But we do look at your cash flow, especially if you get our equity product, which is Intutugo, which you would then be paying both the senior debt, which is Umastandi, and the Intutugo debt. We would then you would have to have some sort of cash flow or some sort of income that you receive on a regular basis outside of this property development. Before I go into Tugo and Umastandi, perhaps let me just explain to you how we work in that regard. So Umastandi, if you come to Umastandi and let's say you want to buy a property and develop a property, let's say the total project cost is around 1 million. Umastandi would give you a 20%, would give you up to 80% loan, and you would need to contribute up to a minimum of 20% equity contribution, depending on how cash flow positive your specific loan is, right? That means that in that 1 million total development costs, which includes the purchase price, legal fees, transferring costs, development costs, etc., you would then need to put in a minimum of 200,000, right? That sounds scary, but this is why we have Intutugo. Intutugo is focused on our previously disadvantaged individuals, right? We want you to have access to property development within the specific industry. And we found that a lot of the developers didn't necessarily have the equity to enter the specific market. And as such, we developed Intutugo Equity Fund, which helps our property developers. Yes, it's a secondary loan, but in a way more concessionary prices, charged at prime -2, and it's for 7 years in order to help you to enter the specific industry. So because you would be then servicing your senior debt, Umastandi, Intutugo Equity Fund, and we want you to have an income from the onset. We would then also want you to have some sort of cash flow. It could be maybe you have your other business, and it's not necessarily employment. You are self-employed, but we can see that you can actually cover your expenses. You're not going to need to dip into the project cash flow from the onset. We will need to verify that you have some sort of income. But do you need to be employed in order to qualify from Umastandi? Technically, no. Okay. Hi, Prudence. Someone says, do you know anyone who is this still no Mahlubi? Oh, okay. So do you know anyone who do you know anyone who knows equity funders? So where can I get equity from? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm assuming this is before I spoke about Intutugo, which is probably our greatest equity funder. Intutugo will help you with this equity contribution. So it's a more developmental mezzanine finance to help you with the equity. Even with Intutugo, there is some sort of equity contribution that you will need to put in. We don't fund 100% of that 20%. You will need to put in at least 5% of the total project cost on Intutugo, and Intutugo can maybe cover the rest. And all of this is really dependent on the cash flow, how cash flow positive your project is. Umastandi's aim is really to have you be able to pay for that Umastandi debt, pay for that Intutuko debt, pay for any operating expenses that you may have in the business, be it municipality, be it you have a caretaker, be able to pay for that and still have an income and some profit from the onset. So given that specific our outlook, we will need you to have some sort of equity contribution, some sort of skin in the game, to say the least. Do we have mentors or a mentorship program? That is one of the benefits of Umastandi, ladies and gentlemen. So when you qualify for Umastandi for the first 6 months, we will give you a qualified mentor who will help you with property development, guiding you through the property development in your construction period. We have a dedicated QS, quantity surveyor, who acts as a project review consultant. What the QS gives you, they will look at the quality of the project, look if you are building within the specific budget and within the specific time, in order to help guide you as a third party. Yes, you'll have your construction team and your professional team and your PA, but it will act as a third party, an overview of whether this is going correctly, it's going within budget and within time. What is the minimum amount of funding? We don't necessarily have a minimum amount of funding. What we do have is that a project really becomes more feasible around the 6-8 units, right? You want to, like any investment, you want to be at a point where whatever it's going to cost for you to build, or the cost for you to actually get the specific investment is lower than the benefit that you're going to get. So your benefit outweighs the specific cost, right? And up to a specific point, through economics of scale, I hope I'm not going to, through economics of scale, it then becomes more profitable for you to be able to build. For example, if let's say you have 5 units, right, and one person vacates the property, you already have 20% vacancies in that scenario, right? And that will hurt your cash flows substantially as compared to a bigger portfolio, a bigger unit topology. So you want to be in a space where the cost benefit really outweighs each other, or you have the bigger benefit, less cost. So if the property belongs to the bank, how does Umastandi come to provide funding, right? So Umastandi will act as senior debt, right? So what we would do is that we would look at how much you have outstanding for your, in order to settle your current mortgage with the bank. We will then settle that bond as part of your entire feasibility. We will look at that settlement cost, look at your construction costs, and then we will give you an amount or a facility that is inclusive of all of that. Umastandi will then register a bond over this property and take over the debt. I hope that answers it. Wait, before I actually answer any questions, I want to engage with you guys. I'm so happy with all the questions that you guys are bringing us, and I'm so happy that you guys are still in a place, you are excited. I know that you are definitely the people who are going to be keeping the bonus money for that equity. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, a minimum of 5% for Intutuko. So Intutuko does not cover the entire equity contribution. So you need to have skin in the game. You need to show Umastandi that you are serious about this property development business, and you want to, and you will show this by the money that you've kept in order to put towards this project. This equity contribution will be a cash contribution, ladies and gentlemen, a cash contribution towards either the purchase price, if you have settlement figures, legal fees, part of the construction cost that you will put into the specific project. Should you have an already existing project, let's say you have a house and you want to demolish, you want to build property developments within that specific house, within our areas, let's say in Umlazi, in Claremont, etc., what we would do is that we would look at your ownership of that specific property as an equity contribution, so that 20% now starts to decrease, ladies and gentlemen. It starts to decrease according to the value of that specific property and the underlying value of that specific property, right? Isn't that good news? I'd say that's good news. Someone said, are you able to apply for funding without an income? So you do have to have some sort of income, some sort of cash flow. We need to know, how have you been covering your bases so far, right? Especially, and this is most important, if you are applying for Intuthuko, because you'll be servicing two debts, ladies and gentlemen, we will need to be able to know that you will not need to go into the cash flows of the specific property from the onset, because you have no money coming from anywhere else. Yes, it doesn't have to be formal employment. You could be self-employed, but there needs to be we need to be able to see some sort of cash flow and how you're able to cover your bases from here. Remember, property is a long-term game, ladies and gentlemen. You're probably not going to make your proceeds from the onset. You need to be investing in order to increase that value of that property. As the rentals become higher, you decrease your debt, and you become more efficient in your operating expenses and how you look at your operating expenses. Then you'll start getting more cash flow that you can now live with, you can now maintain a household with. So from the onset, we really need to make sure that you're not going to be so desperate to go into that cash flow. We need to understand that you have some cash flow that you have on the side, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that answers you. What is the minimum and maximum funding? You know what? I don't like working with limitations, yes? Like, I really don't like working with limitations. In minimum, ne maximum. Let's just go. I think for us, it's really, we want to understand how informed your decision is. Do you have the cash flow? You're not going to come and ask for 100 million project, and this is your first project. You've never done anything like this. You want to start according to what you have, right? That's why this equity, I keep on going back to this equity contribution. Once you know that, if I know that, okay, Simnikiwe, I have around 200,000 in my pocket, right? 200,000 will probably give me access to around 1 million umastandi or 800,000 umastandi. Perhaps if I get into Tugo, it will give me around 2 million, right? It will give me access to around 2 million, 2 point something million umastandi. Therefore, what can I build with 2 million? Perhaps I can do, it's around 150 per unit if you are building costs. Perhaps I can actually do 18 units for 200 million. Those are the kind of conversations you need to have with yourself, and it starts with you, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of how much can I have, how much can I raise, and given that, what is my experience, going incrementally to build that. As I'll re-emphasize, that we also look into the feasibility side. Is it feasible for me to build 5 units, for instance? Around 6 to 8 units is probably the starting point, and those are usually our back rooms. The starting point that makes a financial sense for you, because you don't want to be in a space where you're overexposed, where one person that you have a vacancy of 1 unit and it takes up around 20%, which makes that affects your serviceability, that affects your ability to pay your operating expenses. We don't want to put you in that position, ladies and gentlemen. So our prerogative is really to get you to be a successful property entrepreneur in whatever way that we can, and through that is to looking at the feasibility holistically. Which townships do you fund in Durban? So we have a list of all of our township on www.umastandi.co.za. I hope you guys are friendly have made friends with that URL, and you know everything that is there. So take the time to actually go through that. We also have an array of YouTube videos of how we do what we do and what we do. And this is all in order to get you to get the most information that you're able to get. But in Durban, in KZN, currently we finance in Waterloo, in Nazareth, in Claremont, KwaNdengezi, KwaMashu, and Umlazi, right? Just to re-emphasize, ladies and gentlemen, Umastandi is very specific in terms of the areas that we finance in, right? We finance in areas that we know that we would be able to build the kind of development that we want. And that is according to what are the town planning regulations of that area. We do specific thorough work for market analysis in order to see if an Umastandi would be able to sustain there and be successful, right? And we want a place where a lot of people generally migrate to in order to find business opportunities, and not in only one industry, not perhaps in a mining industry only. We want to know that there's an array of business opportunities or industries that people flock in there to. And this is why we finance in mostly our biggest metros. And through this, we have a list of our areas that we finance in, and this is in Gauteng, we have in city of Johannesburg, we have Tshwane, we have Ekurhuleni, we have city of Cape Town, we have Nelson Mandela Metropolitan, we have Buffalo City, we have eThekwini. Those are the areas, those are the municipalities under which we finance in, and through the Umastandi website you will see which specific townships within those municipalities that we finance in. I would say, ladies and gentlemen, the most important thing, probably make sure wherever you want us to finance is within those specific the listed municipalities, and look at which townships would be able to finance you in. Good morning. Do you cover areas in PMB? There are areas that we're looking at in PMB. Please just look into our website and see what the listed areas are exactly. But we are, because we've just started within that KZN region and that Durban region, we're very focused on the areas that we finance, and we found that areas like Claremont, Waterloo, and Nazareth have really got those town planning regulations for us, and we're really trying to laser focus on those specific areas. But you can speak to our consultant that side, our portfolio manager, Uzinhle Khumalo, who will give you exactly what we would be able to do and what we wouldn't be able to do. Hi, Isaac. So if a property belongs to my parents and I am the one who wants to pursue the property investment, can I apply on their behalf? On their behalf, no. But you can then work out with your parents. Are your parents alive? By the way, Isaac. Oh, Isaac. So if your parents are still alive, you can then sign a contract with your parents to give you ownership or to transfer the specific property into a juristic entity. Another point that I want to emphasize, we borrow against juristic entities and not in your individual name. So we would need to transfer the property. That is something that we also embed within our feasibility. And we look at, when we look at legal fees, we look at those things. We will then need to transfer that property to a juristic entity that is probably 100% owned by you, and as the applicant, and you can be the applicant. Perhaps you can decide that the property is owned 50% by you, 25% by your mom and dad, whichever way works for you. But we need you to be a shareholder and a director within that specific juristic entity, and you can act as a warm body within that specific entity. But the person who owns the property and has the legal rights to the property is the person that must apply. Do I sign up for mentorship program?
How?
How do I sign up for mentorship program? You sign up for mentorship program by being approved in an Umastandi loan, by coming in, bringing us a solid project that's going to give quality, affordable housing within the township areas. And once you are approved, you automatically qualify for our mentorship program. All our property entrepreneurs go through this. We teach them property management, we teach them property development, everything from the start to the end of their property journey. What is a juristic entity? Is it a company? Yes, 100%. You know when you write an exam, right, and you guess, you guess an answer, this would be one that you would actually get right. A juristic entity is a company, right? A company that is seen as it's a legal entity in the eyes of the South African law. It can be a PTY, a private company. It can be a trust. It can be all the juristic entities that are listed within the South African company institution. Usually most of our clients use private companies as a juristic entity in order to transfer to. We have a site on a trust name. Can we get it done and funded? Will there be credit checks on all the beneficiaries?
Sure.
Oh, Sharon. Hi, Sharon. Where's Sharon from? Oh, it's Sharon Jazzmax. Nice surname. I must say I'm biased. I'm a jazz lover. So we do fund under a trust. We need to always get to the person. We need to understand who the trustees are. We will do credit checks and verify all the beneficiaries that are of age. So beneficiaries that are obviously older than 18 and can actually have a legal body. We will look at your credit scores. We will look at your assets and liabilities and your financials, as you would probably take suretyship over the property. But really, we need to understand the property as the trust as a whole. If we usually also like to verify the trustees who are direct beneficiaries of that specific trust. Oh, Sharon, you're from Durban. Where in Durban do you have that site? Exactly. If a property has a bond, can you assist on this project, or is it only a bond-free property? Okay. So, as I said before, we do finance properties with a bond. What we will do is that we will settle your bond, part of your feasibility, much like if you are buying a property. We look at your balance as basically the purchase price, how much it costs in order for you to gain that full ownership of that property, right? We will settle that bond and give you and extend development costs, legal fees, etc. in your feasibility. So all of that will be embedded in your feasibility when we look at your specific project. We do fund projects that have bonds. We will just settle the bonds, and Umastandi will take a first covering mortgage bond over that specific property. Okay. Tell us the requirements to be an Umastandi. The requirements to be an Umastandi. I hope you know this. You know what? In fact, I should have made this today a quiz. I should have been asking you questions about why have we been doing these township talks? Have you guys been watching? Have you guys been paying attention? But it's fine. We'll have an exam in January. So in order to be an Umastandi, you have to have identified a property within our areas of finance, our listed areas of finance. It needs to be within the township areas. You need to have the equity contribution that is needed in order to in order to get into this development. You need to know what you want to build, so know the unit topology that you want to build. Let's say you want to build 25 square meter bachelor units. Tell us around how much you think that it's going to cost in order for you to build this, and also tell us what the potential rentals of that of the proposed development will be. You'll do that by walking the area that you want to develop in, looking at what people are investing in within that area, how much they are renting it out for, their area projects out for. And also, look, in the beginning, you probably won't necessarily have the actual correct construction cost, but we need you to have some sort of understanding. Perhaps walk with the draftsman, or walk with the draftsman or an architect within the site, and look at what they think that is buildable within the specific area. One thing I want to emphasize when you're looking at that is looking at that town planning regulation and seeing what you're able to build within that, what you have rights to build within that specific plot, so that you know if you will need to do rezoning. So to re-emphasize, I think I've gone into a spiral. Once you answer one question, you realize that, actually I need to emphasize on this one. To be an Omastandi, identify a property within our areas of finance. Know what you want to build within that property, within that plot. Know the rights of that plot. Know the potential rentals of what you want to build are within that specific area, within that specific market, and know how much it's going to cost you to build that, and be able to tell us what equity contribution and cash, ladies and gentlemen, what cash contribution can you make towards that specific project. Another thing, conversations that we've spoken about today, Umastandi does fund projects with a bond. We will settle that bond and register a first covering mortgage bond in that specific plot. Equity contribution, we have Indutugo Equity Fund that helps you within that 20% equity contribution. Umastandi finances you up to 80% of the total project cost, and Indutugo will help you to balance that 20%. But you do, ladies and gentlemen, you do, I want to emphasize, have to have some sort of skin in the game. Cash flows, I'm just re-emphasizing all of the things that we've spoken about today. If you had missed the first part of the day as we start to close off, as cash flows, do you have to be employed in order to be an Omastandi? You have to have some sort of cash flow in order for you to not really have to go into that property income from the onset. So we would like you to have to, it doesn't have to be formal employment, you can be self-employed, but have some sort of cash flow in order to cover yourself in that. And that's mostly important if you are gonna get into Tuwo Equity Fund. Because you'll be servicing 2 loans, right? I think we've answered all of the questions. I think I've re-emphasized everything that we had for today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so grateful for you guys coming here, especially in December. I'm hoping that everyone here will come back. I will put money aside to make sure that in January, we have that equity contribution in order to start township developments. I am so excited for the things that you guys are wanting to do within the township development, and I'm so excited about you guys changing the township development within South Africa. Happy holidays, everyone. I hope I've answered all of your questions. Should I have not answered some of your questions, please contact me directly on Simnikiwe N@umastandi.co.za. That's SIMNIKIWEN@umastandi.co.za, and we will engage with this conversation further. I thank you. Happy holidays.